when she saw The Wizard of Oz or thought about The Wizard of Oz, it wasn't totally a pleasant memory because all she remembered was having her breasts strapped down so she looked flat-chested, and also having to stay within a certain guidelines because she had this big hairy lion and these other people squeezing against her. What is your feeling when you think of Singing in the Rain? Is that a happy memory for you?
I never had a hairy lion. But Carrie did in Star Wars, so we covered that. I never had my breasts tied down because they were too big, they would float out. So it's not the same memory. Singing in the Rain was so much fun. It was so much, for me, it was an experience because I was just a little girl. It was my first big picture ever. Because my first picture, I just sang abba dabba 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 chipbeat. The song about monkeys. I didn't know that I'd marry them. So I was very lucky to get to do Singing in the Rain with Gene Kelly. What a great star, and Donald O'Connor.
Yes, so it is a happy memory for you. Because we hear stories about the fact that you felt you weren't wanted for the part and that you had to work very hard, your feet bled because you weren't a dancer and all that, but...
It was hard, you know, but I had never planned. I didn't think I'd be in that picture. And L.B. Mayer, can you see on this side? Tough shit. I'm sorry. I didn't make these plans, you know. I love you too. I'm glad you accept me as I am. Born April 1st. This is the way it is. So I love it. So anyway, L.B. Mayer, he was the head man. He was the boss, you know. And he called me into the office and he said, Debbie, because I was brand new and, you know, I was scared to death. And he was a little man, but he was on a pedestal. Like his desk was built up, you know, so when you walked in, he was really tall, but he was actually quite short. But it was sort of like a mirage, you know, they built it up so that he looked very, I don't know why he wanted to look larger, because he was such a terrific man, and we called him like Papa. He was the daddy to all of us, you know, because he was the boss, he was the greatest. So he said, Debbie, you're going to be in this picture, Singing in the Rain with Gene Kelly. So I said, I am? Gene Kelly? I used to go see Gene Kelly in the movies for a dime. He said, well, now you're going to be in the movie for nothing. That's what they were paying me. And then Gene Kelly was called in and he said, Gene, this is going to be your leading lady. Okay, over there. And he said, well, who is it, you know? Well, this is Debbie Reynolds, and she's newly under contract. And so Mr. Kelly said, well, do you dance? I said, no. You can imagine how thrilled he was. Made his day. So I don't think that Mr. Kelly, now that's not his story. He said in his book that it was his idea, that he had seen me in the Abba Dabba Dabba singing in that little movie, and that he wanted me for it. Well, that's his story, but I like mine better. So. But anyway, he let me be in Singing in the Rain. Wasn't I a lucky girl? I was very lucky.
Well, I'm amazed when I see the movie because you have such confidence in dancing with Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly and the Good Morning number and the other things. Where did you get that confidence?
I just don't know enough to say no. I don't know when I can't do it. I just figure I have to work like a dog and then I'll get to do it, you know? And I've just always done that my whole life. If it looks too tough to do it, I just have to work twice as hard. And my mother and father always taught me, you never say you can't do it. You never say no. And I didn't know I could quit. I didn't know. And I'm glad I didn't. Not that I thought I could, but I was very honored to be able to be in it, and I had to study really hard because I didn't dance. So they worked with me 5 months before anybody else appeared, all by myself, on the set with 4 teachers trying to teach me. You don't understand, any of you that don't dance. You can't learn to dance in 4 months or 2 weeks or 3 months. You can't. But I had to. So I had Jeannie Coyne, who later on married Mr. Kelly, who became Mrs. Kelly. And I danced with Carol Haney, who went on to Broadway, who did Pajama Game. Ernie Flatch, who did the Carol Burnett television show, right, and went on to do Bye Bye Birdie, I think. And everybody was so talented that they took this little girl from Burbank, and before that, Texas, who was just this sort of, you got out, huh? So they took this little girl and they just molded me into really being a good dancer. I'm now a really good dancer. To this day, I can still dance. I just tie the tits down and go.
Any particular...
Well, some people don't say that particular word, but I don't see anything wrong because we're lucky to have them, and especially if they last. Yeah. As long as they don't hit our knees. You'll think about it later on. Bless me?
Yes, I'm laughing. Yes.
Roberts admires lovely bosoms, and years ago, lovely figures. You know, Roberts always admired lovely. It doesn't mean he necessarily Go ahead. Just ignore him. He's on the path.
Do you have any particular, for this crowd, any particular Gene Kelly stories?
Well, Gene Kelly was he was a terrific guy. But see, Donald was, I was 18. And when I started, I wasn't even 18. I became 18 on that movie. And Donald was 27, and Gene was 39. So I thought he was really ancient. And can I tell you this story, Robert? In the morning, see, some of you don't know, but in Hollywood they had gossip, you know, like secrets. You know, well, you probably don't know that, but they do. And so in the morning, we'd go to makeup really early, like 6 in the morning. And we'd all go to our private cubicle, like a little room by yourself, to do your makeup and your hair, so people didn't see how like a rat's ass you looked when you came in. Well, we didn't look terrific. I don't know. We all looked really lousy. So Gene would come in, and I didn't know men had a big problem. I didn't know men had, makeup problems or hair problems. I didn't know that. But I was very young. I now know men have a lot of problems. And I found them all. So Gene would go in and get all done up. You know, we'd all get done up and go on the set. And then we were doing a number called You Were Meant for Me, and I was on a big tall ladder, and we were on this sound stage all by ourselves, you know, and just a big tall ladder. So I was just up on the top of this ladder, and Gene was dancing below me singing, You Were Meant for Me, I was meant. And they just had lights, you know, all special lights shining down, very romantic, you know. And so Gene came in, and we were rehearsing the dance. And then Stanley Donen says, okay, well now, see, I was only 17, I hadn't turned 18, and I was chewing gum because I loved gum. Well, I hadn't discovered wine. And so Gene is, I'm on the big tall ladder, right? Big, huge, and Gene is down below, and he's dancing. You were meant. Now I'm up here, and they said roll them, and I said, oh, I forgot. I had the gum, so I took the gum and I stuck it on the rung of the ladder. Well, and so Stanley says roll it. So Gene goes, you were meant for me. I was meant for you. And then Gene leans back on the rung of the ladder, and he dances away. and his hair stayed on the ladder. He didn't talk to me for a year. That's just one of the stories. Gee, my legs are good looking? Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Look, my tits looks great. You're so kind. I appreciate that.
So, I just want to thank you so much for this.
Share alike. Turner Classic Movies.
Debbie, we thank you so much for being here with this movie. For
trying to get rid of me already, so you did it. As soon as I undress, they all leave.
Oh, God!
We could be here all night, and it would be a pleasure to be here.
Well, we want the folks to see the movie. It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
We had a wonderful time making it. Gene Kelly he is great. He was a great choreographer, director, everything. Donald O'Connor was only the most fun and brilliant, taught me how to flip up the wall. And Sid Charisse, she was so beautiful, and her legs were longer than my body. She'd kick her leg, and I just told her she was very shy and very sweet. Everybody on the whole picture was really delicious.
Gene Hagen. The wonderful Gene Hagen.
Oh, I can't stand it.
Yeah.
She was a great dramatic actress. Yeah. And she wanted to do that part. And they didn't want Debbie necessarily. They didn't want Gene. But she convinced Mr. Mayer that she could talk like that same part. So she went in and she said, she started talking like that. And so they said, well, okay, you got the part. You had to talk them into it.
And we want to encourage everybody tomorrow to come and see Debbie and introduce, it's after How the West Was Won tomorrow in Cinerama for the first time in years.
That's a really great movie,
too. Come and see that. Thank you so much. Have a great time with this wonderful movie.